reactors in central Japan has opened. Plaintiffs fighting to stop the extension say it's the first case of its kind. About 80 people from across Japan are demanding that a decision by the Nuclear Regulation Authority be struck down by the court. Last month, the NRA okayed a request by the operator of the Takahama plant. That allows the utility to run the reactors for 20 more years. They had already reached a 40-year limit that was brought in following the Fukushima accident in 2011. At the trial, one plaintiff argued aging reactors need to be decommissioned quickly so that the disaster will not be repeated. The nuclear regulators say there's no merit to that assertion and point out they have already given the go-ahead. The utility has applied for the extension of a third reactor. Power companies have decided not to apply for extensions and will scrap 6. Over the next 10 years, 14 reactors across the country will reach their age limits. Japan's government has released the details of its latest population survey, and the results show the country is aging fast. The number of elderly people hit a record high, while the overall population fell for the 7th year in a row. The Internal Affairs Ministry looked at the number of Japanese nationals living in the country at the start of this year. The population stood at 125,890,000. That's down more than 270,000 from a year earlier. Officials say that's the biggest drop since they started keeping records nearly 50 years ago. The population peaked in 2009 and has been dropping ever since. This year, less than 13% of the population was under 15 years old. Just over 60% fell in the 15 to 64 bracket. Both figures have been shrinking since 1994. But the 65 or older category was bigger than ever, topping 26%. Japanese government officials say the economy will not continue as strongly as they thought. They predicted in January that growth this fiscal year would expand by 1.7%, but they've revised this down to 0.9%. The new lower figure comes amid Britain's exit from the European Union, a rise in global uncertainty due to the slowdown in emerging economies and weak consumer spending. For fiscal 2017, the Cabinet Office predicts growth of 1.2% in real terms. Officials hope new stimulus measures to be drawn up by the end of this month will bring a boost to the economy. The Chinese economy continues to show weak demand at home and abroad. Exports fell in June, marking a year-on-year drop for the 3rd month in a row. Imports declined for the 20th straight month. Customs authorities say total trade value for June came to about $313 billion. That's down 6.4% from the same month last year. Exports totaled about $180 billion. Down 4.8% from the previous year. Imports fell 8.4% to about $132 billion. A government official told reporters there are many uncertainties in China's trade situation. He said exports will slow further. Nepal is once more experiencing political confusion after the main Maoist party withdrew its support from the ruling coalition. Local media said Prime Minister Khadga Prasad Oli could face a no-confidence vote. Repeated political turmoil is hampering the country's efforts to rebuild after the massive earthquakes it suffered last year.
We are immediately withdrawing support for the present government, as it would be inappropriate for our party to continue in the ruling coalition. I would like
is the second largest group in the coalition government, which assumed power in October last year.
I have received a letter from the Maoists regarding their decision to withdraw their support of my government.
Prime Minister Oli has been accused of failing to rebuild homes and roads destroyed in the earthquakes, which killed about 9,000 people. Nepal's parliament approved a new constitution in September last year. It was a rare example of political consensus in the country, born out of a sense of crisis created by the earthquakes. But it turned out to be just a brief interlude. Nepal abolished its monarchy in 2008 following a decade-long civil war. In the Philippines, fans of Manny Pacquiao are excited about the possibility of the boxing icon returning to the ring. The 37-year-old former 8-division world champion announced his retirement before his last fight in April. He was elected to the Senate the following month. On Tuesday, his promoter Bob Arum said Pacquiao had received permission to take a break from his new duties as a senator to fight again. Arum said the bout would happen around November against a yet-to-be-determined opponent. But the boxing star said in a statement that his legislative work is his priority and that his next fight has not yet been discussed. Pacquiao fought his way out of poverty to become an 8-time world boxing champion. The Muslim holy month of Ramadan ended last week. After weeks of fasting, people in Pakistan celebrated the Eid al-Fitr holiday with an indispensable food item. NHK World's Fumio Sugaya explains.
As the end of Ramadan approached, workers at this food factory were even busier than normal.
Obama cut short a trip abroad to attend the ceremony.
I believe our sorrow can make us a better country. I believe our righteous anger can be transformed into more justice and more peace.
Last week, 5 police officers were shot dead during a protest against the fatal shootings of black people by police. Obama said it is as if the incident has exposed the deepest fault lines of U.S. democracy. The president called on Americans to reject racial divides. Obama plans to work on ways police can eliminate differences in how they handle people of various races. Protests against police attitudes toward black people the refugee crisis, human rights, and Security Council reforms. The candidates include the head of the World Body's Development Program, Helen Clark, and the former climate chief, Christiana Figueres. Also in the race is former UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Antonio Guterres. The conventional process has been criticized for the Security Council selecting one candidate behind closed doors. The current Secretary General Pan Ki-moon will be stepping down at the end of the year. The Security Council will narrow down the candidates in a first vote later this month. 50 years ago, the Beatles played an iconic concert here in Tokyo for the first time. The band's drummer was, of course, Ringo Starr. In an exclusive interview with NHK, he says he was moved by the warm welcome from Japanese fans.
Are you going to be that side?
NHK spoke to Starr in Hollywood. He said at first the band was confused by the fans' subdued reactions.
I remember that the reaction we'd had all over the world was lots of screaming and craziness. And we got to Japan and it was when we played the song, it was and then it was after the song. And we had to get used to that. And then when the kids in the audience got a bit wild, the police kept them down. But that was just the gig. We were so welcome there. It was so good. That was beautiful. And people looked after us really well.
Starr is still active as a musician and reflected on the message the Beatles began to spread.
Since we started, the growth of the peace and love movement, as far as my birthday is concerned, never mind, every day I'm on stage, I'm peace and loving. Every day I'm walking down the street, people are peace and loving me. So it is becoming a force. Well, just you don't have to go to Bangladesh, Florida, Paris. There's no safe place anymore. But that's what they do. This is what I do. My dream, one day, 1 hour, 1 minute, everybody in the world will go peace and love. And then it will be good.
Starr is scheduled to tour Japan in October for the first time in 3 years. Lapel pins worn by leaders at the G7 summit are still a source of pride for Japan's Ise-shima. People in the pearl industry there produced the pins. Now, 2 months later, they're working to make the most of the global exposure.
Jewelry firms from around the world gathered at a business fair in Hong Kong. More than 200 came from Japan. Pearl firms from Ise-shima were part of the presence. George Kakuda showed prospective buyers the star attraction, accessories made to promote Ise-shima pearls.
This is the pin that we made for the G7 summit.
In May, the pins were seen round the world during the Group of Seven summit right there in Ise-shima.
It's a very unique and different design that I haven't seen ever before. I would certainly wear it myself, for sure.
The jewelry is a public symbol of the area's industry. Ise-shima was the first place in the world to cultivate pearls. Companies have made a point of emphasizing quality, but the collapse of Japan's bubble economy more than 2 decades ago hurt sales. The number of pearl producers continues to decline. A year ago, people in the industry focused on the summit as an opportunity. Kakuda came up with the idea of firms involved in different aspects of the business working together. He envisioned making the world's best accessory by the summit. Pearls of 3 millimeters in diameter were the starting point. In Japan, only Ise-shima produces that size.
Pearls from Ise-shima come in a wide range of sizes. The small ones are especially beautiful. They are world-class.
Kakuda asked one of the project members, Sadamu Yamagiwa, to create pearls fit for the occasion. The process starts with inserting a small ball called a nucleus in an oyster. Multiple nuclei are put in to get small pearls, but there's no guarantee it will work. Yamagiwa has years of experience coaxing things of beauty out of oysters. He selected pearls of the highest quality.
I thought the leaders wearing our product would be good publicity for our pearls. It would motivate young producers too.
A year in the making. Here's the result. 7 pearls on a 3-centimeter, 18-karat gold platform. The number 7 represents the participating countries.
This design draws the utmost beauty from the pearls. This three-dimensional structure is quite distinctive.
The summit gave the pearls and their producers an opportunity to shine.
They look great on the chests of the leaders. I was impressed.
Kakuda and his colleagues will spread the word at trade fairs. It's an opportunity to cultivate the business of pearls from Ise-shima.
You're watching an HK Newsline from Tokyo. People in parts of the northern U.S. are dealing with the aftermath of several tornadoes, as Saikamori tells us in this hour's World Weather Update.
Very wild weather is affecting the U.S.-Canada border.